Donnie blinked his eyes open. The wind seemed reasonable that morning, but the air felt heavy, thick, and humid. Donnie was surprised to see that he was the first one awake. He got out of the tent and headed over to the picnic table. There, he ate some bread and had some cheese. He decided to have them separately this time. Donnie took a look around. It was so quiet in the morning. He grabbed a folding chair and took a seat. He spent a good amount of time just watching the trees sway in the breeze. Soon, the others started waking up. Mikey was the first. He crawled out of the tent, rubbing his eyes. "Morning, Angelo." "Morning, Dee." Mikey walked over to the picnic table with a yawn, grabbed the soap, and walked over to the restrooms. Raph and Leo got out of bed around the same time. "Ugh, what time is it?" "It is 10:48 a.m., gentlemen." "Wow, swimming must have worn us out, huh, Raph?" Leo got up and walked over to Donnie. Leo looked over and watched the trees gently move with the breeze. "The calm before the storm," Leo commented. "Pardon? Forecast says thunderstorms this afternoon." Donnie raised an eyebrow. How could such a beautiful day like this turn into a thunderstorm? He wasn't sure, but he was going to enjoy this while it lasted. Since it was so close to lunchtime anyway, Raph, Leo, and Mikey skipped having breakfast and jumped over to have lunch instead. When they finished, the wind started to pick up. Donnie looked over to see a dark horizon. That raised his concern slightly. He was stuck on dish duty that day, and they had some dishes left over from the other night. The soft-shell turtle rolled up his coat sleeves and got to work. While he was washing the dishes, he realized the plates were really greasy, and the utensils were greasy, and the cooking oils were greasy, and everything was so greasy. It kept killing his soapy water dish after dish. Nothing was cleaning off like it normally would. He didn't have hot water to combat the grease. His frustrations grew quickly. Raph walked over to find that Donnie was still doing the dishes after 2 hours. "Hey, Dee, are the dishes clean enough?" Raph questioned. But to Donnie, it sounded like he was teasing him. "No, they are not clean!" Donnie gripped the sides of the bucket. Raph came over and touched one of the dishes. It still had a thin layer of grease on it. "Oh, yeah. How about Raph taking over while you do something else, okay?" Donnie released the bucket and let Raph take the seat. He went back to the restrooms to wash his hands. Exiting the bathroom, he could definitely feel the wind blowing harder. He quickly made his way back to camp. When he returned, Mikey rushed over to him. "Donnie, something's wrong with your tent," Mikey said. Donnie looked over to find his tent half collapsed. He walked past Leo, who was chopping more wood, and went over to the tent to inspect it. Once he got closer, it was easy to find what was wrong. One of the tent poles snapped from the wind. "Of course it would. Of course it would," Donnie growled, his teeth grinding unhealthily together. "If it's not one thing, it's another," he grumbled. He took a deep breath and tried to calm himself down. He could fix this. He's good at fixing things. "Mikey, I need duct tape, scissors, and a large metal stick." Mikey ran off to get what Donnie requested. Donnie got down and prepared to fix the pole. "Heads up!" Mikey hollered. He tossed the tape and Donnie caught it. Then he tossed the scissors, but Donnie wasn't dumb enough to try to catch those. He dodged out of the way as they went flying past him. "Mikey, do not throw!" But just when Donnie turned his head, a large metal rod hit him right on the bridge of his snout. Donnie raised his hands to cover his nose. "Oh, sorry, Donnie. Are you okay?" Mikey yelled from the picnic table. Donnie didn't respond. He crawled over to his half-collapsed tent and laid inside. It wasn't long till he started crying. His nose hurt so bad. He drew his hand away to find his fingers were just covered in little tears. For a moment he thought his nose started bleeding. "You should be more careful, Mikey," Leo howled. The sound of crunching grass came closer and closer. Donnie looked up to see Leo appearing through the tent door. "Hey, you good?" Donnie didn't say anything. He just laid his head back down on the mat and held his nose between his hands. "Here, let me see." Donnie sat up and let Leo inspect his face. "Yep, that's definitely bruised," Donnie whimpered slightly as more tears trickled down his cheeks. Leo reached over and grabbed a juice box and some crackers for Donnie. Then he proceeded to clean around the bruise. Donnie sipped on the juice box while Leo worked with putting a Band-Aid on Donnie's nose. If anything, it gave it a small cushion protection. "There, now you have a little pink kitty cat on your nose." "Are you serious?" "Kidding. It's just a boring peach one." Donnie wasn't sure if he was relieved or disappointed. He finished his juice and ate some of the crackers. Then they both exited the tent. Donnie picked up the repaired items and started mending the broken pole. He used the metal stick as a splint and taped it on the real good. It looked like it was working pretty well. Off in the distance, thunder started to rumble. Guess that thunderstorm was going to come after all. Donnie moved the folding chairs into a tent. While he was setting the chairs down, rain started trickling down into the campsite. Leo hopped inside the tent and zipped it up tight. Soon, the small trickle turned into a downpour. Donnie lay down on his mat and watched as the raindrops hit the top of his tent. An hour had passed, and Donnie wondered how long the rain would last. What if the camp became a muddy mess? What if it rained so hard they were knee-deep in the water? Just when Donnie was thinking about all the ways this could go bad, the sun came out, brightening up the environment around them. "Oh, it's beautiful!" Mikey yelled. Now Leo and Donnie were curious. They opened the tent and saw Mikey looking up at something. They turned their heads to see a rainbow streaking across the sky. Leo scrambled out of the tent to get a better look at it. Donnie's jaw dropped. It was the brightest rainbow he'd ever seen. Donnie didn't have to worry about the campsite flooding because the promise was right in front of him, and it was still proving true. They ran over to the lake to get a better view. The rainbow was so bright you could even see it in the reflection of the lake. White birds rose up from the lake and filled the sky. They danced around in circles, singing their song. Donnie had never seen anything like this before. Minutes later, the rainbow faded away. The birds returned to the lake, and Donnie was left with an experience that could never be recreated. They returned to camp. The wood was too wet to start a fire, so Mikey made salads for dinner instead. Donnie sat down at the picnic table, picking at the chickpeas and cucumbers. The wind died down, and thunder clouds rolled away. Everyone talks about the calm before the storm. What about the calm after the storm? Nobody talks about the beauty after the rain. Donnie finished his food, brushed his teeth, and headed off to bed.